McLaren has been thrown into the eye of a storm that nobody in Woking saw coming, and the shock inside the team is impossible to ignore. What began as a routine post-race inspection in Las Vegas has exploded into a full FIA investigation fueled by new evidence that suggests the double disqualification of Norris and Piastri may not be an isolated technical slip, but part of a much deeper pattern. The FIA first started tracking after Brazil. Overnight, McLaren went from championship leaders to the team under the heaviest scrutiny on the grid, and the tension this has created behind the scenes is unlike anything the team has faced all season. The FIA isn't just checking plank wear anymore, they're examining whether the unusual floor behavior on both McLarens in Vegas connects to irregularities they quietly identified a week earlier when several teams were caught using questionable methods to limit skid wear. Now that new evidence has emerged, they want answers. Data, simulations, damage logs, temperature readings, everything. And the fact that both McLarens failed the same legality test on the same night has set off alarm bells because it hints at an issue far bigger than accidental porpoising or random damage. It raises the possibility that McLaren may have been operating closer to the limit than the team initially realized, and the FIA intends to dig until they understand exactly what happened. All of this comes at the worst possible moment for Piastri and Norris, who suddenly find their title fight overshadowed by an investigation that could shape how the final 2 rounds unfold. Stakes could not be higher. The championship is tightening, rivals are circling, and McLaren must now prove that the Vegas catastrophe was nothing more than misjudged setup, not a continuation of the wider technical concerns the FIA is now pursuing. And before we go through every detail of this escalating investigation, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and stay with me until the very end, because the evidence the FIA has uncovered changes everything. The FIA's investigation has become unavoidable because the technical evidence from Las Vegas lines up almost too neatly with the suspicions that began in Brazil. The governing body had already uncovered a growing concern that several teams were using methods to protect their floor plank wear far beyond what the regulations intended. The plank, which must not drop below 9 millimeters, is designed to stop teams from running their cars excessively low. The lower the car, the more downforce and stability it gains, especially in medium and high-speed corners. But what the FIA noticed in Brazil was that some teams appeared to be running extremely low without suffering the corresponding wear you would expect on such a bumpy circuit. That discrepancy is what triggered the deeper inspection, and it is now central to McLaren's problem. The trick, according to multiple technical sources, involved the heating of the titanium skid blocks embedded in the plank. These blocks are supposed to sit flush with the wood, but when they are heated, they expand by tiny but meaningful fractions of a millimeter. When that happens, they protrude slightly lower than the actual plank. In other words, the titanium makes contact with the asphalt before the wood does. Titanium can withstand the impact, wood cannot. And because the FIA measures the wood, not the metal, cars that use heated skids can run lower without the plank wearing. Once the car returns to the pits and cools down, the titanium contracts again, returning to its legal measurement. On paper, the plank looks untouched, but on track, the cars run significantly lower than permitted, gaining free performance. The FIA didn't publicly expose any team in Brazil, but they did quietly intervene. After the sprint, Joe Bauer inspected a large number of cars and instructed several teams to remove the devices he found. That moment is essential to understanding why the FIA is now interested in McLaren. If a team was previously benefiting from the expansion behavior of the heated titanium, removing it would instantly change how the car interacts with the track surface. It would bottom out more, it would porpoise more, and it would cause more wear on the plank, especially at a circuit like Las Vegas, where long straights, cold asphalt, and aggressive braking zones combine to punish any miscalculation in ride height. This is exactly the pattern the FIA is studying: the sudden spike in plank wear between Brazil and Vegas. McLaren insists its wear was due to unexpected bouncing and accidental floor damage, and those elements definitely contributed, but the governing body wants to confirm whether the damage alone explains the numbers or whether the team was unknowingly running with a setup that only became vulnerable after the loophole was closed. The FIA may even increase random checks on McLaren's floor assembly and skid blocks throughout the weekend. When a team goes under the microscope like this, every bolt, every measurement, every legality hole becomes a subject of scrutiny. The impact on McLaren's championship fight cannot be overstated. Norris now leads Verstappen by just 24 points. Piastri sits level with the Dutchman. The team was already preparing for an aggressive final push, but now they must balance performance with the absolute guarantee of legality. Running the car even 1 millimeter too low could end their entire campaign. The pressure in the garage will be intense. Engineers will be forced to decide whether to sacrifice ultimate pace for safety margins. Strategy personnel will have to consider whether aggressive tire usage risks altering the car's ride height mid-race. This is the kind of tension that reshapes the mindset of a title contender. The fact that Jos Verstappen suggested Max already knew the McLarens would be disqualified adds even more weight. Whether he meant it literally or simply observed their behavior on track, it fuels the narrative that rival teams suspected something was wrong. If Red Bull, Mercedes, or Ferrari detected unusually heavy grounding or noticed spark patterns inconsistent with a legal ride height, they likely informed the FIA informally. The governing body uses these whispers as guidance to initiate deeper analysis. This is how investigations begin, not with accusations, but with observations.